I just wanted to say hello to all my happy little bookworms. It's kind of late at night for me, so I won't be super long, but I did finish a book, and I figured I'd give a brief little review of it. The book that I'm going to be talking about today is this one here, called Barsk by Lawrence M. Schön. I mean, if you go the German way, it's more like Schön, but it's probably pronounced Schön at this point, I imagine, because it's probably an American author, and they probably don't have the specific German pronunciation still anymore. Anyways, that's a babble. But anyways, I wanted to talk about this book, in part because I did enjoy it, and I thought it was a fun read, and so I do recommend it, as far as that goes. But also I wanted to get it out there and talk about it a little bit because it's a little bit out of my comfort zone. Not really what I'd normally have read. It's actually a sci-fi novel, and normally I'm more of like a fantasy / the occasional historical fiction / I read a lot of nonfiction about either science or actors that I like because I have weird and sporadic tastes. But yeah, anyways, read Barsk, really liked it. The basic concept of it, so that you can decide for yourself if it's something you even want to look into. The society that we're looking at is many, many thousands of years past Earth, and how we exist today. I believe it's at least like 65,000 years, something like that, in the future. And the sapient races that are around now are things that you'll recognize as animals that we have here in this world, but now they've become modified over time. They have hands more like ours, they talk like we do, all that kind of a thing. So it's kind of anthropomorphized animals, but they're still actual animals in more the way we'd recognize them on our planets as well. So in some ways it's like these sapient animals have taken over the role of what people are. And the majority of the story centers around this planet called Barsk. Barsk is a planet that's full of anthropomorphized elephant people, which all the rest of the animal societies do not like or get along with. Because of all these sapient animal races, the Barsk animals, the elephant people, are the only ones that don't have fur. Because if you've ever looked at an elephant, they just have that really wrinkly gray fur, and all the other animals that are sapient animals that it makes reference to are still mammals, but they're all furry mammals, whereas elephants are not furry mammals. So all the other societies kind of look down on these elephants. But they still have importance of this elephant planet. There's this drug that they manufacture on the elephant planet that essentially certain people, when they use this drug, are able to pull together people's memories. They call these particles that they use to do it nephrons, and they use these nephrons to call back memories of people, and they're able to essentially talk to the dead that way. And that drug that allows them to do that comes from Barsk, so they're still important to the rest of the animal societies, even though the animal societies don't want anything to do with them because they're the scary furless ones. So that's the major conceit of the story, and I found it really fascinating. As it got towards the end of the novel, as things were coming to a head, there were a few scenes where some of the talk got a little more political than my brain could quite cope with. And I was like, I'm not entirely sure how they're drawing any of these conclusions or what is entirely going on and what they're threatening each other with. But okay, I'll go with it. And other than a few things that I struggled with like that, I found it really enjoyable and really fun. I think it was just a really neat concept. One of the things that the author did with these sapient animal species too is, if you know anything about like the Latin scientific naming for animals, you might actually recognize what species of animal is talking about without it getting the common name that we use. Usually it'll still mention that common name at some point. But it uses the scientific names of the animals in a truncated form in order to recognize them. So we have technically two different elephant species. We've got the lox and the font. And the lox, at least, is based on Loxodonta, which is African elephants. And then the font are supposed to be Asian elephants. I did not think to look up what an Asian elephant's scientific name is, so I can't tell you if font is based on that or if that was just a little throwaway thing like, all the rest are, but this one for the Asian elephants, it's not. So I don't know about that. But you've got like the badgers that are called taxi based on Taxidia, I believe, for their genus name. You've got the felon, so F-E-L-N, which is like feline or felidae. What is their genus? Anyways, you get the idea from that. So I thought that was a really fun and clever way to do it. And I was like, if I know this scientific name, I can go look it up. And there were a few that I did recognize because I have a background in science and things. And I have just sporadically memorized a few scientific names as well. Like the Aeluropoda is panda bears. So some of the characters in there are panda bears, if you like panda bears. But yeah. So I don't know that I want to give away too much of the story because it was a really fun ride to see where the story went with it. If you're looking at like the jacket cover, at least on the book that I have, I will say that as we've talked about, or as I've mentioned already, there is that drug that they use that lets them to speak to the dead that is produced on Barsk, and essentially what gets the plot rolling is the other animal societies decide, we don't want Barsk to keep hogging this. We want to be able to produce it for ourselves. And then the story takes off from there. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, I found it a very highly enjoyable read overall. Again, there were a few moments where it got into some of the political talk, and I was like, oh, I don't know what's going on. And I don't know what we're trying to get at here. But other than those few moments, it was all really good, and I really enjoyed it. And it didn't turn out at all like I was guessing it was going to. It kept throwing things at you, especially towards the end, trying to build up in the climax, and I was like, oh, what are they going to do with the story now? How is this going to resolve? And it didn't go any of the ways I thought it would, but it still did a good job resolving, and I was very satisfied with it. The characters, I will say this real fast, were all really fun. I enjoyed the different variety, how you've got things that are based on their animal natures, but then they still have their own personalities within that and stuff. Pislow is my favorite. If you happen to read it, watch out for Pislow. He's awesome and adorable, and I feel kind of bad for him, but at the same time, he's a really cool little dude, and I'm grateful that he got to play such a big role in the story, and it was a lot of fun to see what the author did with him. So yeah, that's about all I got for now. I just wanted to give a quick little review of that. Just share my thoughts on it. If you happen to read Barsk for yourself, feel free to comment below and tell me your thoughts on it. I'd be happy to start some discussions up about it and just see where that can take us. But anyways, that's all I've got for now. So I will catch you guys in the next video. This is the Umlaut Harper signing out.